is your usual suspect. Hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're having a wonderful morning. It's about 6 minutes after the half-hour mark at 10 a.m. here down in Uganda, Kampala. So allow me do the usuals. That's to test our audio before we proceed any further. We've made that our routine so that we avoid any mishaps, any mistakes that have accosted us in previous editions of this live broadcast. So kindly bear with me as I do these testings just for the sake of us being on the right track. Yes, I think we are good to go. I think we are good to go. I think we are good to go in that respect. And just a second. But welcome back to the channel. Thank you to all our new subscribers. You're much appreciated. Like I said, we've clinched the 1,000 mark of subscribers. More than that, I think at around 1,085. But continue joining the channel, continue subscribing, turn on your notifications so that you can be notified. Kindly comment, like, and share so that we can continue to grow our Football Tribe community, because it's for the fans, by the fans. And if you wish to be hosted on the channel, if you want us to do a live broadcast together and speak matters or sports, do not hesitate to reach out. My socials are enlisted in the bio of this channel, so do not hesitate to reach out. Anyways, today we'll be speaking matters Carlo Ancelotti in regards to his future at Real Madrid, which is close to no more. And then we'll be speaking Arsenal versus PSG. We'll be speaking about the return of Mikel Merino. We did speak slightly about that yesterday on our TikTok channel. For those of you that have managed to go down there, at Football Tribe UG is our handle still. But on all the other platforms, I do run as Robert K. Sarkos. That's what you will find on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter. That's all you'll find, even on Instagram, although I'm not really very active on Instagram, I must say. So, guys, do join the broadcast. I'm waiting for you guys to join the broadcast so that we get it all started, so that we get to speak sports. I would like to send out special shout outs to the likes of Mr. Okuyo, one of our very active followers, pitching in with the questions, and much appreciated, brother. Then Maurice Kato, one of our usual suspects, Alex Alinaitwe, one of the others, and many others out there that I may not, mention right here. But your input is really much appreciated. And for those of you that have watched our preview of Arsenal versus PSG, that's the video that was uploaded, I think on Saturday. Do let me know your thoughts. Kindly continue to comment. I'll be there to respond on those matters. But anyways, as we wait for others to join, we won't waste any further ado. For those that are already here, let's get it already started and speak sport, because Carlo Ancelotti will be leaving Real Madrid, and it's a place where he's been quite successful as far as winning them major trophies is concerned. He's won them 3 UEFA Champions League titles, including that 2014 landmark La Decima. So he's then 3 FIFA Club World Cups, 3 UEFA Super Cups, 2 Copa del Rey titles, 2 La Liga titles, and 2 Super Copa de España titles. So he's been quite a successful manager. So he has a combined total of about 15 titles that he has won for the Whites there of Real Madrid. So, and like we spoke earlier on again this month about his imminent departure or pending departure in the aftermath, that was scheduled to be in the aftermath of the Copa del Rey final. Looks like that has not really changed, because yesterday Fabrizio Romano did break the news to us that Carlo Ancelotti and Brazil had reached an agreement in principle for the Italian to become Selecao head coach. That's the Brazilian international team for the World Cup 2026. Now, before I even complete this, just a reminder. It's been, I think, for the last 1.5 years or so, the rumor has always been there that Brazil wanted Carlo Ancelotti as their next manager. Of course, some Brazil national team fans do disagree with the choice that their country is making. They do get with the perspective that maybe he's fallen off pace, maybe he's out of touch in a certain way, given the way things have gone, particularly at Real Madrid in this season. They've not really looked pretty. They've gotten beat twice by Barcelona, so really that doesn't give you a good CV. Losing to Hans Flick, who is in his debut season with Barcelona, and we're talking about a Barcelona side whose defensive prowess is not really that good when you look at players like Kubasi in that defense and all the others. So, but anyway, that's all besides the point. It is true that the man will become the Brazil international team, a team that I also do pay allegiance to, bearing in mind that Ronaldinho Gaucho is my favorite player or greatest player of all time, in my opinion. I do not know who yours is, but that's my view. Anyway, the deal valid from June, not after Clubs World Cup. Deal valid from June, not after Clubs World Cup. Real Madrid and Ancelotti will part ways nicely with 4 more steps next now. It's been also reported that Real Madrid will be paying Carlo Ancelotti's salary to fullness. And this is again from Fabrizio Romano saying Carlo Ancelotti will be among the best national team head coaches, but that's for the Brazilian national team. Sorry about that. But anyways, the report is that Real Madrid have agreed to pay Carlo Ancelotti his salary or remaining money, whatever the case is, to have a smooth step down from the club. Now, like I kept saying, Real Madrid, one of their major top targets for the new manager is none other than Xabi Alonso, who is currently at Bayer Leverkusen. We all know that he does have a gentleman's agreement with his bosses that should potential suitors do come of his preference, then they should be willing to sit on the table and negotiate a deal to see him leave that club. Now, of course, it's a club that he's done wonders for, including winning for them the DFB Pokal Cup and then the German Bundesliga. Of course, last season they won it unbeaten. They reached the finals of the UEFA Europa League, of course, losing out to Atlanta. But he's done really, really well. Whether he can pull the same magic at Real Madrid, if he is the one given the job, remains to be seen. But in regards to potential, contenders for that managerial role, really not many names have been mentioned in the ranks beyond Xabi Alonso. So we'll wait to see how all that develops in Real Madrid. It's a team that needs a manager that will be very good at discipline, because I get the sense that discipline or indiscipline is a bit of an issue when you look at the manner in which the players like Antonio Rudiger have conducted themselves in recent times. We all know about Vinicius Junior's short temper, that sometimes he gets ahead of himself and he does certain stupid things or things that you may not naturally agree with from a footballing sense, from a footballing perspective. So clearly, it's food for thought for whoever will be the next Real Madrid manager. Then the other news that I do want us to discuss away from Carlo Ancelotti is the return of Mikel Merino. Of course, we all know that this one was a potential absentee for the fixture between Arsenal and PSG. That's today night in the first leg of the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League, having missed out in Arsenal's 2-2 draw against Crystal Palace last week on Wednesday. Now, again, it was a point of concern, bearing in mind that Arsenal are going to be already missing lots of players through injury, but these are players that have really not been around for quite some time. Kai Havertz, Takehiro Tomiyasu, Jesus, Gabriel Magalhaes, and the likes. But Ben White was among the doubts also, and then Mikel Merino's absence was quite notable because he's the one that has been leading that Arsenal attack. And then with the suspension of Thomas Partey, we've been pondering on the idea of whether he can be played back in midfield to help Mikel Arteta's side. So that with all that said, with that combination, you do get the sense that it is really good news when he does return. He did return to full training with the rest of the team. For those of you that managed to find clips of him walking back at the Sobaha Reality Training Center, that's in London Colony, for Arsenal. And then, so why? Of course, it's a big boost. Like I said, when we were reviewing the game in which Arsenal beat up against Ipswich Town by 4 goals to nil, we did speak about what possibly did appear like Mikel Arteta's early preparations for the game against PSV when he played the midfield three of Declan Rice at the base of that midfield alongside Mikel Merino as the left eight, together with Martin Odegaard. So it was interesting to see that he is back. Whether he will get to start the game, I think is a no-brainer, regardless of whether he's at full fitness or not. The reason is largely because of how Arsenal are really short on numbers, especially when it comes to crucial numbers, not just filling in the bodies. Because if it comes to filling in the bodies, then you could have the Raheem Sterling start a game. And I do not think with his recent performance against Crystal Palace that any Arsenal fan would really fancy that kind of decision from Mikel Arteta. So that is at that. Then, of course, like I mentioned, Ben White also did return to training, and Mikel Arteta did say that they will be available to the squad pending late fitness tests to qualify them. My suspicion is that they could make it. Now, again, when we are doing our analysis or the preview of this particular game, we talked about those options. And one of the other options that I wanted to add is the possibility of Julian Timber being sent to left back, and then you have Ben White play at right back, and then have Miles Lewis-Kelly pushed into midfield to play that left eight midfield role. Now, he's only played for Arsenal in the midfield a couple of times or minutes, but remember, he is naturally a midfielder, not a left back, as many people would want to think. He is naturally a midfielder. That's how he developed as a player. He's only been converted to a left back by Mikel Arteta, given what he possibly saw in training. So that's a possibility. I'm not saying it's what's going to happen, but that's a possibility. So that then Arsenal do get the chance to retain Mikel Merino as their false nine ahead. Then the other alternative is if you play Mikel Merino in midfield, then it has to be Leandro Trossard that plays as your false nine. Of course, Leandro Trossard has had a good form recently in regards to the Premier League. In regards to the UEFA Champions League, he's sort of not been the best at times, but he has, he does really put in the effort, and we know he's good with both legs. He can shoot from any angle, which is sometimes an advantage. However, when it comes to set pieces, his shyness in height does give them the disadvantage, because he's not that kind of player that is going to run onto the ball and head it into the back of the net during a set piece and that kind of thing. But whatever the starting lineup Mikel Arteta will field, again, we'll be here to give it to you. But for as far as speculation goes, here is what I think Mikel Arteta will go with in regards to this particular fixture. It will be David Ryan Cole, William Saliba and Jakub Kiwior, Miles Lewis-Kelly and Julian Timber in that backline. Then a midfield of Declan Rice, Mikel Merino, Martin Odegaard, and then a front three of Gabriel Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, and Leandro Trossard. That's my expectation. Should anything change, we are waiting to see. On the side of PSG, yesterday they did travel full squad. The likes of Marquinhos, Gianluigi Donnarumma, Ousmane Dembele, Ivica Kvaratskhelia, Vitinha, João Neves, Nuno Mendes, Achraf Hakimi, Willian Pacho. They're all in that cohort. Bradley Bakola, Desire Doué, they're all in that traveling squad. And when it comes to the PSG starting 11, again, my expectation is that Luis Enrique, a very experienced manager, having guided Barcelona to a treble back in 2015, that's for the 2014-2015 season, including beating Juventus by 3-1 in the finals of the UEFA Champions League. We'll start with Gianluigi Donnarumma. That one is a no-brainer. Then a backline of Marquinhos and Willian Pacho. And then you will have Achraf Hakimi at right back and Nuno Mendes at left back. Then a midfield of Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, and João Neves. And then a front three of Ivica Kvaratskhelia, Desire Doué, as well as Ousmane Dembele. Now, my expectation here is that Desire Doué gets to start ahead of Bradley Bakola. All of them very good players, by the way, in double figures this season in terms of goals and assists across all competitions. So it's really, really important to note and quite very interesting. Now, there's going to be key battles in this particular fixture, but like I keep saying, usually the game is won in that midfield. When you have a solid midfield, whoever wins that battle usually has their chances as high as 70% of going ahead to win that game. Because then that means once your midfield is strong, it means it can protect its backline, then it can also drive the ball forward and bring in the forwards, be creative, and that kind of thing. Now, there will be key battles, but in any case, for Arsenal to succeed, all players must be at the top of their game. But then some players have to stand out even when everybody is at the top of their game. The first player that has to stand out for me has to be Bukayo Saka. He has to step up and lead that team in terms of the offense. Martin Odegaard has to step up higher than everybody in leading the press, in driving the ball forward, in being creative. He has to be at the top of his game. Declan Rice in that midfield, winning balls back, making the tackles, has to be at the top of his game. And then at the back line, William Saliba has to be at the top of his game. Now, those for me are the four most important players who have to rise above the performances of everybody else if Arsenal are to have a chance of winning today's fixture. On the side of PSG, if they are to have a chance of winning that particular fixture or even walking away with a draw, that gives them an advantage going into the return leg that will be at Parc de France, then players like Ousmane Dembele, Kivicha Kvaratskhelia will have to rise to the occasion. Vitinha and João Neves will have to really step up, as well as Marquinhos in that backline. For me, but then also not to mention is Gianluigi Donnarumma. He has to do better when it comes to crosses and set piece plays. If PSG to have really a chance, like I said, they're going to be key battles. Gabriel Martinelli versus Achraf Hakimi. We all know that they are both pacey players when it comes to speed. Maybe Martinelli may be faster than Achraf Hakimi, but defensive-wise, Achraf Hakimi is solid, but we all know how well he commits going forward to create those goal-scoring chances and sometimes scoring. We did see him score against Aston Villa at Villa Park when Emiliano Martinez parried that ball into his path. And then the other key battle is going to be between Bukayo Saka and Nuno Mendes. We all know that Nuno Mendes is a very, very brilliant left back. He did shut down Mohamed Salah in both ties when PSG were knocking out Liverpool at the round of 16. So that for me is going to be a key battle. And then, of course, the other key battle will be in that midfield versus the midfield three of Arsenal, Rice, Merino, Odegaard, if that's the setup, versus Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, and João Neves. So for me, that's where the key battles are going to be. On the other side, in terms of PSG, the other key battles will be for Miles Lewis Kelly up against Desire Doué and Jurrien Timber versus Kivicha Kvaratskhelia. I do get the feeling that William Saliba and Jakub Kiwior could do well to handle Ousmane Dembele, but Miles Lewis Kelly has to be 2 times defensively better than he has ever been. Of course, we know over 2 legs he was able to shut down Rodrigo Goes, but Rodrigo Goes also wasn't at the top of his game on both nights. And then Jurrien Timber will have to do 2 times better than he did against Vinicius Junior, regardless of whatever argument you may put forward. Remember when Arsenal played this PSG side, I think on the 1st of October, during the league stage of the UEFA Champions League, Kivicha Kvaratskhelia was absent. They are not yet signed him from Napoli. So clearly, that's going to be another key battle. Can Jurrien Timber put a stop to Kivicha Kvaratskhelia? Very, very good player. I mean, I sit there and wonder how Premier League clubs slept on the job and never really put in serious bids for Kivicha Kvaratskhelia. Of course, there was always rumored interest from Premier League clubs, but nothing as solid as when PSG went in for him for January and he left Napoli. By the Napoli, who are on the verge of winning the Scudetto, by the way. And I do get the sense that if they do win it, they will have to send him his medal. I think he did he did enough, a contribution enough to deserve a medal, despite leaving the club in January. So those are going to be the key battles. Those are going to be the key moments for me that I do wait to watch in this particular game. I understand that the nerves have already started kicking in for most, but it is what it is. You will have to bear them if you're an Arsenal fan, if you're a well-wisher, if you're a non-well-wisher and wanting Arsenal to lose. Even for you, the nerves have kicked in. If you're a PSG fan, whatever you are, I'm sure the nerves have kicked in. Anyways, allow me close it here and wish you a wonderful rest of the day. We'll be back here before kickoff, hopefully, if we do have power, to look into the starting lineups and what they mean, and talk more about those key battles and give you our expectations, our predictions, depending on those lineups when they do come out. And perhaps any other news that may have fallen in. Sometimes you get players being pulled out of squads because of, late knocks during final training sessions and warm-ups and that kind of thing. So keep it locked on the Football Tribe UG channel, and I'll be sure to keep you abreast of what's more to come. But before I sign out, allow me to remind you that this is going to be actually Arsenal's biggest game at the Emirates Stadium since 2009, when they entertained Manchester United at the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League and lost terribly by 3-1. So this is going to be a huge moment for Arsenal. And indeed, because it's that big a game of that magnitude, Mikel Merino, who was not even an Arsenal player by 2009, has made a rally call to the Arsenal fans to carry their shirts, to carry their boots, to carry their shin guards into the stadium and play every minute with the rest of the team. He says the atmosphere ought to be better than that versus Real Madrid, when yet we already got perspective from Arsenal fans that were both inside and outside of the stadium, that's as electric as a night has been for Arsenal on a UEFA Champions League night. He says they need to do even better than that. Now, the thing about Arsenal fans is that they're a little bit like Uganda Cranes fans. When their team is having a bit of a slow game, you feel their support, dwindling, and when their team go down, you sort of feel that, literally deafening silence in some moments. But Arsenal fans, even when their team goes down, they will want to avoid that. They have to create a night similar to what we see at Anfield, similar to what we see at the Allianz Arena, similar to what we see at the Sigino Iduna Park and elsewhere. So, anyways, allow me to close it at that. Wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Catch you guys next time in the next broadcast, which I'm pretty certain will be later today. All factors kept constant. Bye-bye.